Be nice. No. If you sparred him, no, he gets a little bit. A little bit, yeah. So be nice. Thumbs up. Understand, you're better than everybody. So just don't hurt.
You don't want to see any of these motherfuckers fight that little Chechen anymore. You want to see the last fucking American in the sport going fuck that guy up, and that's what's gonna happen.
What does Sean Strickland do to beat Khamzat Chimaev?
Anything I fucking want, dude. Anything I fucking want, dude. I'll bring a fucking goat. He'll get distracted. Anything I fucking want.
How much security do you think we're going to need from Chimaev?
Quite a lot, Danny. You need to hire some extra people because Sean Strickland, as we know, the man's a maniac, but he deserves this shot.
This isn't just another fight. This isn't hype for the sake of hype. This is the kind of matchup that exposes everything. Skill, mindset, identity. Because when Sean Strickland and Khamzat Chimaev step into the cage, there's nowhere to hide. One man walks forward like pressure never existed. The other hunts like he was built to break people. And the scary part? Both of them believe, without hesitation, that the other one doesn't belong in there with them. This is not about rankings. It's not about hype trains or records. This is about a collision between two completely different realities. And only one of them survives it. On one side, you have Sean Strickland, a fighter who doesn't move like a traditional champion, doesn't talk like one, doesn't even act like one, but somehow keeps proving people wrong every single time. He's awkward, relentless, and mentally unshakable. The kind of guy who will stand in front of you for 25 minutes and make you question why you even signed the contract. On the other side, Khamzat Chimaev, undefeated, explosive, and terrifying in a way that goes beyond technique. He doesn't just beat opponents, he overwhelms them, drowns them, makes them feel like they're fighting something they don't fully understand. When he grabs you, it's not a takedown, it's the beginning of the end. And now these two worlds collide. Pressure versus dominance, chaos versus control, durability versus destruction. This is Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev, and this fight changes everything. To really understand this fight, you have to start with Sean Strickland, because he's the kind of fighter people still underestimate, even after everything he's already done. On the surface, his style doesn't look dangerous. No explosive bursts, no wild combinations, nothing that screams highlight reel. But that's exactly what makes it so effective. He builds everything off control. That constant jab, the pressure, the way he slowly walks you down without overextending. It's not about speed or power with him, it's about breaking your rhythm over time. And more importantly, it's about mentality. Strickland doesn't fight like someone who's worried about what's coming back. He stands in front of you, relaxed, reading everything, making small adjustments, and forcing you to fight at his pace. That's where he becomes dangerous. Not in moments, but across minutes, across rounds. The longer he's in there, the more confident he gets. Now contrast that with Khamzat Chimaev. Because Khamzat doesn't build fights, he takes them over. The moment the fight starts, the expectation is pressure. Not slow pressure like Strickland, but immediate explosive intent. Closing distance fast, forcing exchanges, and looking to impose his wrestling as early as possible. That's where his entire game shifts the fight. Once he gets a hold of you, everything changes. Position, control, pace, it all moves in his direction. And that's what makes this matchup so interesting. Because Strickland is at his best when he has space to operate. When he can dictate range, touch with the jab, and slowly build momentum. But against someone like Chimaev, that space might not be there early. So the first big question is simple. Can Strickland establish his rhythm before Chimaev forces his? If Khamzat manages to close that distance quickly and bring the fight into grappling exchanges, then Strickland is immediately dealing with something outside his comfort zone. That's where Chimaev becomes dangerous because he doesn't just look for control, he looks to dominate positions and drain you. But if Strickland can keep the fight standing, even for short stretches, that's where things start to get interesting. Because on the feet, the dynamic shifts. Strickland's defense, his jab, his ability to stay composed under pressure, those are all tools that can frustrate someone trying to rush forward. He doesn't overreact. He doesn't give you easy openings. And if Chimaev is forced to reset multiple times, forced to work his way in instead of exploding straight into position, that changes the pace of the fight. And pace is everything here, because Chimaev's style is built around intensity. Fast starts, heavy pressure, strong control. But that kind of approach demands energy. It demands commitment in every exchange. And if the fight extends, if it moves past those early moments where he usually takes over, then the dynamic starts to shift. That's where Strickland becomes a real problem. Because he's built for long fights, built to keep going, to stay composed, to keep applying pressure even when things get messy. He doesn't need a perfect round, he just needs time. And then there's the mental side. Because this isn't just about technique, it's about how both fighters handle each other outside the cage as well. Strickland is unpredictable. He says what he wants, pushes boundaries, and has a way of making things personal without even trying. That can get under people's skin, whether they admit it or not. Chimaev, on the other hand, is intense, focused, emotional, and deeply competitive. He doesn't take things lightly. And when emotions get involved, it can shift how a fighter approaches the fight itself. So another question starts to form: does this stay a disciplined, controlled performance from Chimaev? Or does it turn into something more emotional? Because if it stays technical, if he sticks to his strengths and imposes his wrestling game, then he controls where the fight goes. But if it turns into a battle of ego, moments, and exchanges, that opens the door for Strickland to drag it into a different kind of fight. And that's where everything becomes unpredictable. Stylistically, this is one of the clearest clashes you can get. Strickland needs distance, time, and rhythm. Chimaev needs pressure, control, and early dominance, and whichever fighter manages to impose that first is likely the one who takes over the fight. Because once momentum shifts in this kind of matchup, it doesn't come back easy. This isn't just about who wins, it's about what happens after. If Khamzat Chimaev runs through Sean Strickland, then everything people believe about him becomes real. The aura, the dominance, the idea that he's something different, it all gets confirmed. But if Sean Strickland survives, if he drags this fight into deep waters, into uncomfortable territory, into a place where mental strength matters more than explosiveness, then everything changes. Because then it's not about hype anymore. It's not about fear. It's about proof. And in that moment, we find out who these fighters really are. Sean Strickland versus Khamzat Chimaev, not just a fight, a test.